Bojan Bogdanovic is playing out of his mind to start the season for the Detroit Pistons. He's been a pleasant surprise for many Pistons fans. However, if a trade comes around where the Pistons possibly could get a first-round pick for him, should the Pistons pull the trigger on it? We'll talk about that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. I want to talk a little bit about possibly trading Bojan Bogdanovic in today's episode. We're also going to talk about Saddiq Bey in the second segment, and we'll see if that ends up carrying us over into the third segment. It might. If not, I have something planned for that third segment as well. But let's get into Bojan Bogdanovic, who is playing utterly crazy for the Detroit Pistons. I said a pleasant surprise in the cold open. And the reason why I say that is because I told you guys that Bojan was a really damn good player, and he was going to be the Pistons' second best player this year when they traded for him. He's been by far and away their best player this year. He's through 5 games. He's playing the best he's ever played through his entire career. He's averaging 23 points, and listen to this. Listen to these splits, man. 53% from the field, 51% from deep on 8.2 attempts. He's shooting 56% on all 2-pointers, and he's damn near shooting 90% from the free throw line. That's damn near perfection. I don't know what you could possibly point out that he ain't doing right offensively. And he's carried the Pistons through many stretches, specifically this last game against the Atlanta Hawks. I've told you guys this multiple times already. I don't know. I don't even want to imagine what the Detroit Pistons would look like if they didn't pull this trade off of Bojan before the season. If they did not have him before this season, I have no clue what this team would look like. I don't know. They're struggling right now. I don't think struggle would be the right word if they didn't have Bojan. Like, my God. He's one of the main, he might be the only reason why this team is not towards the bottom of the league in three-point shooting. They're hovering around the middle of the pack because Bojan has been such an insane addition to the team. He's done wonders for this team, and he's been absolutely spectacular for the Pistons. However, when the Pistons pulled the trigger on this trade, you guys will remember that immediately what I said is that the Pistons just got another person that they could flip at the deadline for a pick. And with him playing out of his mind like this right now, if he continues to play like this, I feel like the Pistons shouldn't even wait till the trade deadline. I don't think teams would. The Lakers are absolutely desperate. Now, I don't know what a trade could possibly look like. I don't know how many teams would be interested in Bojan. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of teams interested in him. I guess once we usually you give it like a month into the season, you start to hear rumors. There start to be some reports about teams. Oh, they're looking at Bojan in Detroit. He's a prime suspect to get traded, like all that kind of stuff. You start to get that a little bit a month into the season. But if Bojan continues to play this way, let's say into like mid-November, if he continues to play like this, the Pistons should not wait until the deadline. They should pounce on his value and trade him for a first-round pick if it's available. If it's not a first-round pick, I think you probably would rather just keep him for the duration of the season. But if you can get a first-round pick from anybody in this draft, I don't care if it's a late first-round pick, because what it does is that even I know a late first-round pick isn't incredibly valuable in the NBA to some people. But a first-round pick for a guy like Troy Weaver, first of all, is tremendous. Getting him 2 in the first round, that's great, because you rely on him. His biggest talent is supposed to be identifying talent in the draft. So if you can get him as many cracks at the apple, no matter where you're selecting in the first, that's always a good thing. That's one. But then secondly, if you have 2 firsts to work with, you can now maneuver and do all kinds of things. Maybe you could package both of those to move up. Maybe you could package the last one, or the late first-round pick, with maybe a future second or 2 and move up. Maybe you can package that late second-round pick with someone else on the roster and move up. When you have an extra first-round pick in a stacked draft like this, you can do all kinds of things with it. And it gives Troy Weaver, who is an aggressive GM, who is supposed to be a great drafter and supposed to do a great job of identifying talent anywhere in the draft, you want to have a first-round pick, an extra first-round pick in this draft. And for a guy like Bojan, who is a rental this year, his contract expires at the end of the year. His contract is for $19.3 million this year. After this, he is a free agent. He was always going to be a rental. I don't think that he wants to. I don't see why he'd want to return to a rebuilding team next year. He's 30. He's going to be 34. He wants to. I'm assuming he'd want to play for a contender that's playing for something. Either way, the Pistons have $70 million, north of $70 million in cap space this offseason. Okay, excuse me. They're going to have a ton of cap space. They're going to have a top pick again this year. If you can then flip, basically, if you end up trading Bojan, if he continues to play like this and you can pounce on that value and a team is crazy enough to give you a first-round pick for a rental, and maybe he's not just a rental for another team. Maybe if he goes to a contender, maybe he signs an extension or something. But if you're able to get a first for Bojan while he's playing like this, Troy Weaver would have essentially traded Saben Lee and Kelly Olynyk for a first-round draft pick. That's essentially what it would be. So you got Troy Weaver this past offseason who got Jalen Duren, who was a first-round draft pick, for basically the future first from the Milwaukee Bucks in 2025 and expiring contracts. He didn't have to take on long-term contracts. He took on expiring contracts in Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel. And who knows, maybe Alec Burks comes back, plays well for the Pistons, and they're able to flip him for maybe a few seconds or maybe a late round. Who knows? Maybe they're able to even flip him. So basically, Troy Weaver, if he's able to do this with Bojan, if a team ends up coming asking the Pistons for Bojan Bogdanovic, we would have just witnessed Troy Weaver get a first-round pick for damn near nothing when Jalen Duren, and then turned around and not only got Kelly Olynyk and Saben Lee for Bojan, but then was also able to flip that into another first-round pick in another stacked draft this year. I know I saw this question pop up on my Twitter feed. I saw some people talking about it in YouTube comments. I don't see how this is even a discussion. If you can trade Bojan for a first-round pick, I feel like that was always the plan from the get-go. You get him because you know teams are going to want him. He can help you in the meantime while he's on the team. The teams are losing with him. It's not like without him, all of a sudden, they're going to lose and now they can't win. They're not winning with him. They're not going to win with him. The plan was always, I feel like, from Troy Weaver's stance that we're going to get this guy. He's going to help us while he's here. But there's a very good chance that a contender is going to want him. And we can flip him for a first-round pick when they come calling. And he's a rental for us anyways. He's not going to be here past this year. If we can get a pick for someone who's not going to be here for longer than a few months, I'm a genius. I feel like that was like what Troy Weaver was thinking. So I don't see how this could even be a discussion, to be honest. If a first-round pick can come calling, you pull the trigger on it and you run away. You hang up the phone before they even reconsider it. If it's not a first-round pick, then, okay, I can understand you saying, okay, is it really worth getting a few second-round picks for this, or would you rather just keep him for the whole year? I can understand that. If you're getting a first-round pick for him, you got to take it. You got to take it instantly, and you don't even think about it. Don't even think about it, especially in this year's draft. In this draft, who knows what Troy Weaver could do with that? We already see that he's able to maneuver and make trades like swiper, no swiper from Dora the Explorer. Like, we've already seen him do this, okay? If you give him even more ammo, I feel like that should be what like the idea should be with Troy Weaver damn near every offseason. Give him as much ammo to work with in the draft every single year. And I feel like that's even more heightened in this year's draft. So, yeah, man, I don't think this is even a discussion. I know some of you guys are arguing about it, but I don't think this is even close to a discussion. If you can flip Bojan for a first-round pick sooner than you thought because he's playing this well, you do that before he coming back to earth a little bit. And coming back to earth with him is going from a 50% three-point shooter to 40% three-point shooter, maybe 38, 39. But right now, he's playing literally out of this world. He's having the best year of his career right now. So if you're able to take advantage of that in a month, if he's still playing like this, you absolutely do it. If they don't end up trading him, though, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm mad. I like watching Bojan. He's been the best player on the team. He saved this team from looking like an embarrassment half the time. And they've been embarrassed a few times already with him. I mean, that's kind of the point, too, that without him, with him, it doesn't matter. Same thing's going to happen. But, yeah, man, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, I want to talk about Saddiq Bey and what we've seen from him so far this year. And you guys are going to be interested to hear my thoughts on that. Just stay tuned for that. But first, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, PrizePicks. So let me go ahead and give you guys an example real quick. So tomorrow, or when you guys listen to this tonight, the Detroit Pistons will be taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Let's say a football game was going on at the exact same time. So I want to take the over on Kay Cunningham's points in a sports entry, in a sports betting entry. if I want to go ahead and take the over on Kay Cunningham's points, the over on Jane Ivey assists, while also taking the over, and let's say Jared Goff's passing yards and DeAndre Swift's rushing yards. I can do that in the exact same entry, a cross-sports entry with PrizePicks. And that's why PrizePicks is my favorite and best daily fantasy sports app that you can find. You simply pick 2 to 5 players and you bet on their projections, whether they hit the over or under on their projections. You can win up to 10 times on your entry. It's really just that easy. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projected numbers. And it's not just the NBA and NFL. You got MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. That's a mouthful, man. They even got more sports. I couldn't get all of it out. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's really just that easy. Saved and fast withdrawals that are currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks gives you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks gives you $50. Pretty simple. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On and sign up for that instant deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the podcast, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast, and I would really appreciate it. So those of you who have been long-term listeners of the podcast, or long-term followers of me, maybe you just found the podcast, but you've been following me on Twitter and stuff, you guys will know that I feel like I don't like calling myself a hater by any stretch of the imagination. But I think it's 100% fair to say I've been fairly critical of Saddiq Bey. I've probably been the most critical Pistons media guy to be as critical or be this critical of Saddiq Bey. There's a few other ones that talk about his deficiencies, but I feel like I probably focus on them. I've focused on them the most. And I'm going to be transparent with you guys. And I think it's good to have these kind of conversations with you guys. I think I should have this conversation with you. So James Edwards III came out with an article yesterday, and it caused me to sit back. I wanted to kind of think to myself, am I doing this right? Am I evaluating Saddiq Bey correctly? Should I think about how, or should I change the way I've been evaluating Saddiq Bey? And I'm going to explain to you guys what I mean. The biggest thing that any person should do that's watching basketball, watching sports, and you're trying to come up with an opinion, you always want to keep that opinion updating, and don't be closed off to newer facts, newer evidence that could possibly change your opinion that it was a week ago or a few months ago. And where I find myself with Saddiq Bey, and I'm at a bit of a crossroads. Where I'm at with Saddiq Bey is this. Saddiq Bey has some weaknesses that jump off the screen for me and makes it incredibly hard for me to see what his role would be long-term on a team that is contending, that team that you want to see contending. And the weaknesses are the ones that we've talked about a lot on the podcast. His processing speed, his inconsistency when it comes to making the right decision. I feel like he does not make the right decision on like damn near 90% of his drives. On his shot attempts, I feel like his shot selection is not that great. And his defense is not good for a guy with his strength. You expect him, and we've talked about that before, whether he's a 3 or 4. Is he better banging down low with 4s, or should he be on the perimeter with 3s? I think he's probably better defensively guarding 4s, but he's not great doing that either. So it's kind of hard to find where he fits defensively. And that was kind of what he was, pegged to be as a 3-and-D guy coming to the NBA. But anyways, what I'm saying is I've focused on those weaknesses with Saddiq. And so far this year, those weaknesses are still there. There's a lot of times where I feel like he takes a bad shot. His insistence on running away from catch and shoot 3s. Too often he just doesn't shoot a wide open catch and shoot 3. He'll just sidestep, or he'll try to drive, or he'll try to create for himself. He'll travel doing so, step out of bounds, instead of just taking what the defense has given you and what your guards have created for you, which is an open catch and shoot look. So all those things, right, combined into one. Maybe it's because my opinion is that it's kind of hard to see if he's not able to improve that, how he can be a featured option or like a top 4, top 5 player on a contending team if he can't do those things. But maybe I'm starting to think that maybe it's just aesthetically. Maybe I'm being too harsh with it. Maybe it's because it's just aesthetically it's tough to watch him do it over and over and over. I don't know if that's the case. The reason why I'm thinking about this over again, thinking maybe I'm being too harsh with what I'm talking about with Sadiq, because at the same time, while he still has those weaknesses, he's averaging 15 points a game this year, and it's only 5 games. We're going to come back in 20 games, and if he's still doing this at 20 games, perfect. That would be amazing. But so far through 5 games, he's averaging 15 points a game. He's taking a little bit more of a back seat. I feel like he's definitely probably the one that's fallen in the pecking order. But he's averaging 15 points a game. He's shooting 46% from the field, which by far be a career high. He's shooting 36% from deep, which is not where he was at his rookie year. Still, you probably would still want him to be higher than that, but it's passable. He's shooting a career high by far on 2-pointers, which is 55.6%. And just like we talked about the last 4 months of last season, he's taken the free throw drawing and getting those free throw attempts and carried it over into the beginning of the season. And he's averaging 4.6 free throws a game, shooting 87% from the free throw line. As a 4th option, that's incredibly efficient. That is incredibly efficient. He's having a career high so far, true shooting percentage, which measures efficiency, shooting 62.0%. League shooting right now, 56.5% is what the league average true shooting percentage. So he's way above league average true shooting right now, way above league average efficiency as the 4th option. And he's continued to draw free throws. He's improved his finishing around the rim. And it's not even really around the rim where he's really taking the biggest step right now. Because last year, he shot 61% from 0 to 3 feet around the rim. This year, he's at 58.3%. But the place where he's shooting so much better right now at is from 3 to 10 feet, that in-between area, that like the little runner area. He's shooting 55 or 54.5% from this area. Last year, he shot 34%. That's a 20% increase. He's also damn near completely cut out mid-rangers, those long twos, those long drawn-out ISOs that end up in mid-rangers that we talked about last year that he needed to cut out. He just wasn't good at them. He's basically completely cut that out. He's only taking threes, shots at the rim, or closer to the rim, and he's drawing free throws. His average distance on field goal attempts is the shortest it's been his entire career by 5 feet. His rookie year, 19 feet away from the rim was his average field goal attempt. Last year was 17.5 feet. This year he's at 14.5 feet. So he's not shooting in the in-between area. He's not shooting those long twos. He's doing exactly what most people would call like the perfect shot diet. Threes, at the rim, free throws. And the fact he's doing that so efficiently right now is fantastic. There's no other words than to call it other than he's been fantastic doing that. Him cutting out those long twos was a big complaint of mine last year. I said that he needed to stop doing. He stopped that. The long drawn out ISOs, he stopped doing that. He doesn't get those. I think that has more to do, though, to be honest. I think that has to do with Dwayne Casey probably letting him know, or him just realizing that, hey, we got Jaden Ivey, Cade, and Bojan right now, really, who's just psychotic right now. He's probably realized that that's just not, I'm not going to have those kind of opportunities right now. He's taking a step back, and it's led to him having an incredible 5 games thus far on efficient basketball, putting the ball in the basket efficiently, and taking the right shots. So that's why I'm at a bit of a crossroads with Sadiq Bey. Because does he still have those struggles that I'm pointing out? Yes. Does it make it hard to watch him at times? Yes, because it drives me crazy to see him pass up a wide open catch and shoot 3, travel, take a worse shot, sidestep in a harder shot. And that really affects, I feel like, his 3-point percentage. I think that's where he really struggles. Why his 3-point percentage is lower, because he just won't take the easy ones. Does he struggle on defense? Yes. Is he pretty bad defensively? Yeah, I would say so. Does he take bad shots a lot? I feel like he is a bad shot maker. He takes a lot of bad shots. However, are those weaknesses enough to focus on those weaknesses? Are those weaknesses enough to do they weigh so much to where I should be focusing on those instead of the fact that he's made these improvements in his shot diet, his efficiency, and continuing to draw fouls? Like that's why I'm at a crossroads with him. And I think a lot of you guys are also at this crossroads with him. And I think it's dope that we can have. I think that's one of the things that make this podcast network and this community that we have at Locked On Pistons so great, because we can have like these kind of conversations with each other. Because I don't know yet. I don't know which I'm trying to figure out where I want to go with this, where I want to go with Saddiq, what I think would be a fair evaluation of him throughout this season. But I think because before I was really critical of him before, but now I'm starting to think to myself, okay, maybe I should be just accepting of those weaknesses. Maybe I should just be like, look, he's going to have those weaknesses. It is what it is. That's just what he's going to have, and that's the player he is. And instead of focusing on those, accept that that's just something he's not. That's what's going to keep him from being like up here. But I should rather be focusing on these things he's doing better, these things he's doing well, which is efficiency, which is drawing fouls, which is having a much better shot diet, taking more shots to the rim, eliminating the long twos. And the fact that he's found so far through 5 games, he's found a nice balance. I feel like there was one game where he kind of felt like he was completely out of it. But for the majority, I feel like he's found like a nice balance of being like the fourth option, taking some of a back seat, and then finding ways to contribute in his quick whenever his teammates give him the ball. 60% of his buckets have been assisted on. And I just lost it. But that's a high number. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with Saddiq yet. I haven't figured it out yet, but I am at a point now where I've had stuff I've looked at, I've rethought how I've been talking about him. I've rethought how I've been evaluating him. And I've thought to myself, maybe I am being too unfair. Maybe I am being too harsh with Saddiq. And instead of focusing on those weaknesses, I really should be harping on what he's shown improvement at and giving him credit for that, because these improvements these are some serious improvements if he can sustain this. Now, it's only 5 games again, but through 5 games, these improvements have been nice to see. So let me know what you guys, where you guys are at with Saddiq. Guys, I'm read all the comments. If you guys comment on one of the videos, if you guys DM me on Twitter, if you guys tweet at me, I promise I see it. I read all of them. And yes, and the good and bad ones. I see the bad ones. Some of you guys are very mean. But I see the discussion you guys are having. I see a lot of you guys talking about Saddiq, and you guys argue about it. So after hearing this, let me know where you guys stand at this. Are you guys on the critical side? Are you guys, more focused on what he's showing? Or are you guys somewhere in the middle and think you can do both? Like, just let me know where you guys stand with that in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, I just want to talk a little bit about this game tonight. The first teal jerseys that you're going to see. You're going to see the teal courts for the first time this season. Going to be super dope. We're going to preview this game a little bit when we come back. But first, you guys got to hear from some of our lovely sponsors. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or you should leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So the Pistons are playing the Atlanta Hawks again tonight, back-to-back. And this game, the first game was the Statement Edition jerseys. This one is the teal. We're going to see the teal jerseys brought back for the first time this year with the teal court. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be there. I'm sure LCA might be even close to packed for this game. Like, I think everyone's extremely excited for this. I'm sorry, my chair was messing up. I'm sure everyone's really excited. Whoa. For those of you guys watching on YouTube, you guys just saw so I got a gaming chair. I'm sorry. I got a gaming chair, and I was trying to make it stop moving around. And I pressed down the button, and that actually made my chair get shorter. So I just almost came completely off the camera screen. But anyways, I'm sure it's going to be pretty much packed for this first teal game, and that's going to be super dope to see. I might be there. I don't know yet. And listen, you guys may be saying, "Koo, it's the day of. How are you not sure if you're going to be there yet?" Listen, SeatGeek always has tickets available, man. Okay, so if I decide last minute I want to go, I'll just go on SeatGeek and get some tickets. All right, it's not going to be hard. So I have time still. I have plenty of time. Either way, I think it's going to be a fun game, and I think the players are going to be hyped because they know how everyone's been looking forward to the teal jersey. So hopefully this is a really good game. If they got blown out, and if they get blown out in their first game in the teal jerseys, all the old heads who hate the teal are gonna they're gonna rip us a new one. And honestly, I won't be able to blame it. What can we say back? So hopefully it's a good game and the Pistons don't go out there and get shredded by the Hawks. To preview the rest of the game, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Pistons choose to guard Trae Young. And it's crazy because in the first game a few nights ago, in the first game against the Hawks, I actually think, I went back and looked at the box score after, obviously, we saw the box score, and Trae Young ended with 35 points. But, watching the game, I felt like Trae kind of let them off the hook. I don't know if you guys felt that way, but, watching the game, I did not think Trae Young had 35 points. I thought Trae Young would really press the issue with Corey Joseph guarding him. I didn't feel like for the majority of the game he really pressed that issue. Now, obviously, he must have to a certain degree because he had 35 points. But just watching the game, the eye test, I didn't feel his presence throughout the game. I was really shocked that he ended up with 35 points. And with Jaden Ivey questionable as of right now with his illness for this game, I'm assuming they'll start Corey Joseph again. So if they do that, I have to assume the Hawks will make a game plan to target him with DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. And I don't think the Pistons will get away with it nearly as much this game as I felt like they did last game. I don't feel like the Hawks targeted Corey Joseph enough in that last game. He was able to play 32 minutes. He shouldn't have been able to play 30-plus minutes. I would have targeted him every single time down the floor. So if the Hawks start to do that, what is the adjustment that the Pistons make? I think the simple one is play Killian more. And I know he's had a rough start to the year, a really rough start, terrible start to the year. But this last Hawks game, he started to look a little bit better. He started to look a little bit more comfortable, especially in the second half. Second half, I thought he played really well in the second half. And Killian's always done a really good job on Trae Young through his career. So it kind of doesn't make sense to me why you wouldn't want to start Killian and start him on and Trae Young, given that he's done a damn good job on him before. So I think that's the simple. I feel like that's the simple solution there. If they start going at Corey Joseph, you have the best perimeter defender on your team who's had a good record against these guys when it comes to playing defense on them. I don't see why that's not the obvious solution. But if Dwayne Casey refuses and doesn't want to give Killian more minutes, and that's a whole different story. If he doesn't want to give Killian more minutes, then I think you have to go with Isaiah Livers. They kind of tested it a little bit with Isaiah Livers at the 2. I don't think that's sustainable. I think that's pushing your boundaries. I don't think Isaiah Livers can be a 2 guard or should be guarding 2s or smaller guys who are quick. He's good at guarding 3s and 4s, but expecting one of him or Sadiq to try check 2s is borderline crazy to me. I don't think they're either of them, especially Sadiq. But Livers is a better defender, but he's not. He's not like a good defender guarding quick and shifty guys. I don't think that's. I think you're kind of pushing it there. But either way, even Isaiah Livers probably would have a better chance than Corey Joseph. So I'm interested to see how Dwayne Casey handles that matchup. I really do think the Atlanta Hawks are going to, if they see Corey Joseph starting again, they're going to go after him over and over and over and over and over. I think. At least that's what I would do if I was the Atlanta Hawks coach. So that's what I'll be looking forward to seeing. And I also obviously will be watching to see if Killian can carry over the brief amount of success he had in the second half. I believe in the second half he shot 2 of 5. But he looked better in the second half. He looked much more aggressive and looked much more comfortable. And I thought he should have been rewarded with more minutes. Nonetheless, it's definitely the best stretch he had all season. And I'm hoping that is what he needed to flip it around and he starts carrying that over. So I hope he can carry that over into this game. If not, man, it's going to continue to just be a sad season for him. And I don't think, even all of you who are not believers in Killian, I don't think anyone wants him to have this sad of a season. And the last game, he started to show a little bit of life. Looked like he was starting to come around, get some confidence, some aggressiveness. Hopefully he carries that out, and now he can turn the season around early. So I think that's what everyone would like. And, yeah, man. Let's see if Bojan's still the best player in the NBA. I think that's another thing to watch. Is Bojan going to go off for 40 points tonight? Who knows? Maybe. He might do it. Kevin Knox, by the way, just real quick. Kevin Knox has looked utterly terrible in that he completely duped me in that one preseason game. I don't know what was going on. In that preseason game, he was hitting threes and he looked better. Now in the regular season, he looks like completely like it's been horrific with him on the floor. So yeah, I don't know. I think Dwayne Casey might have to go down to a 9-man rotation here soon. And also Diallo's looked, I think, terrible. Teams are just targeting him consistently defensively. His only solution is to reach every possession like he's a lockdown on 2K23, which, by the way, the glove badge is just, oh my God, dude. I can tell you this much. Diallo does not have that glove badge, but he's reaching like he does. And it does not work. So he hasn't been all that good either. So either way, that's what I'll be watching for tonight, man. And hopefully the bench actually, outside of those two guys, I thought Killian Duran and Livers gave him a good bench outing. I thought they played some good minutes. So hopefully the bench can continue to get better. And hopefully Jaden Ivey is feeling good. I don't want to rush him back, obviously, if he's not feeling good enough to go out there. But hopefully by game time he is feeling good and he's feeling all healed from whatever illness he has and he's able to get out there. If not, no big deal. Let him sit out this game. The Pistons play again on Sunday. Just bring him back Sunday. But yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the podcast, or leave a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insight only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and whatever you get your podcast. Until next time, man, enjoy the game tonight, man. Go out there, get yourself a teal jersey, or maybe even 2 of them. Who knows? Go ahead and get yourself a Cade and Jaden Ivey one. I know the reason why I'm kind of like hesitant to go into this game because I know if I get there, despite me saying that I'm close to being out, I know if I see a Killian Hayes a jersey in teal, I may buy it. And I can't. I have to try to stop myself. But putting myself that close to the store, actually, I think the Pistons will have teal jerseys in their arena store, right? I think that would make sense. Definitely, at least on the first game of the teal, I think they would have to do that. At least that's just my opinion. That would be pretty dumb not to. Anyways, I'm ranting along here. Have fun at the game tonight, man. Hopefully they give us a good, fun game for the first game on the teal court with the teal jerseys. And maybe they even get a win tonight. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Have fun. Go Pistons. Stay safe, everybody. And peace out.